This is Safe Heaven, written by Lonelyirises and read by Lalaspodfics. Summary. Who is he?
Stiles.
Chapter 1. Confusion. It was the third time Derek was coming home from school with rapidly fading bruises, and Talia had enough. She'd been trying to be patient with her teenage son showing signs of, teenage, but she had to draw the line somewhere. There will be a day, sooner or later, when some kid in school realizes that Derek cannot bruise for more than 60 seconds and risking the outing of an entire species just because her son cannot keep his temper in check. This has to stop right this once.
Derek, Sebastian, hail.
Talia never raised her voice when she was angry. However, her intense, low tone could shake the very foundations of very important people in the Council of Ministers. While usually it would scare the living daylights out of Derek, today he had anticipated it, and just sighed and mumbled,
I know, Mom. I am sorry.
Talia knew her son was quiet by nature, but suffering in silence was not something he did unless he was truly helpless. The lack of defying from her son made her backtrack, and her temper vanished. Derek, what's going on? She asked him, while he dejectedly climbed up the stairs to his room, her concern clearly visible.
I don't want to talk about it, Mom,
he said, barely audible to her sharp werewolf ears. She decided to give him some space for now. Derek didn't go his usual route into his room. He turned right instead and knocked on Laura's door. He heard her scream, "Since when do you knock, loser?" And he walked in. He found her sitting on her bed with her laptop, staring at him like he had grown another head. Derek was the quietest one in the house and had a resting bitch face, but today he was sporting a downright frown, and Laura was quick to catch it. He sat on the edge of her bed, still carrying his school bag, put his face in his palms, and muttered,
I don't know what's happening to me, Laura.
What is going on? She asked, moving closer to him.
It is like I have no control over me when he's around. I can't talk to him. Everything around him is overwhelming, but is the absolute worst when he gets hurt. And he gets hurt a lot. They bully him. He doesn't even fight them. I can't stand it. I can't stand him getting hurt.
Laura was taken aback by Derek's word vomit. She can count on one hand how many times he's had such an outburst before. This is huge. Although, there's one thing. Who is he?
Stiles.
Chapter 2. Acceptance. Derek was completely dazed since he arrived at school. He could not stop his brain from replaying Laura's words from the day before. Whatever he told me seems like... Mom, do you think Dare might have found his mate? Derek had never thought of it that way. He knew for a fact that people did lose their mind when they find their mates. Writers and poets had written tons of stuff on this exact feeling. Every Valentine's Day movie had this exact feeling overly dramatized, and yet Derek failed to recognize it. He failed to believe in it. There was no other explanation. This has to be it. All these intense thoughts made Derek zone out so much he literally ran into someone in the hallway. The all-consuming scent hit him a second later. He ran into Stiles, his highly likely to be mate. Their eyes met. Derek felt extremely powerless and unusually invincible. This nonsensical feeling he was obsessing over was back. I'm sorry, Stiles mumbled. Derek saw remorse, but also fear in his eyes.
Why is he afraid of me?
Derek wanted to tell him it wasn't his fault, and he wasn't looking where he was going, but before he could even think of a sentence, he was gone. And just like that, the moment was broken, and it only left with more questions for Derek. The blank haze continued till lunch, so much that Erica and Isaac had started questioning him about an unknown werewolf virus that he has possibly caught. Even Boyd had started giving him concerned looks. Derek's spirits lifted when he saw a slightly better-looking pizza for lunch. While he just settled with his tray of food on his usual table, he heard a commotion at the far corner of the cafeteria. What he saw next was that he was somehow standing in between a helpless Stiles with a knocked-over lunch tray and Jackson Whitmore and his jock buddies. But before he could resort to any violence, he remembered his mom's disappointed look from the day before and turned around to face Stiles. Those big, beautiful doe eyes were holding his gaze with such intensity that he could distinctly see the tears pooling in his eyes. Mustering all courage he had, Derek asked,
Stiles, are you okay?
This was the first time Derek had said anything to him, and it felt like he was breathing underwater, like everything was muted, and all he cared about was that his mate was unhurt. He heard Jackson say some mean things in the background, but he couldn't care less. Undoubtedly, Stiles didn't have the laser focus and heard it loud and clear. His scent immediately soured. Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Derek helped him salvage whatever was not soiled of his lunch, and as they got up, he grabbed his hand and gently pulled him out of the cafeteria into the yard with the picnic tables. They sat in silence while they ate. Derek was severely overwhelmed, with almost a complete lack of sensory input that came from anything but Stiles. As the lunch hour ended, Stiles looked less shaken up than he was before. As he got up to leave for the next class, he looked at Derek and thanked him earnestly.
I need you to do something for me if you really want to thank me, Derek said.
The fear in Stiles' eyes was back. What do you want? He asked with a small voice.
I need you to do me a favor and not get hurt anymore. Can you do that for me, Stiles?
Derek was not prepared for the beautiful smile Stiles gave him, and that's when he realized all those writers and poets and movie makers were definitely not kidding themselves. Chapter 3. Sheltered. A week later, Stiles found himself squirming nervously with his father at his side on the couch in the Hale mansion. And Mrs. Hale just said she and her family are mythical creatures. Stiles knew Derek was too good to be true. He can't be nice to Stiles at school unless he is completely whacked in the head. Not just him, his whole family. What is even my life? Stiles thought. He assumed that was exactly what his dad was thinking when they saw Mrs. Hale physically transform into their worst nightmares. It took them a couple of minutes to calm down from what they had seen, while Talia told them repeatedly how important it was to keep this a secret. That's when Stiles looked at Derek and said, "Can you do that, too?" It almost looked like Stiles wasn't planning to say that out loud. Laura's snort made him smirk back. Laura will never say this publicly, but the glare Derek gave her actually did elicit fear.
Yeah, I can. Only the beta shift, though. Mom says the alpha shift needs a better anchor.
Stiles' curiosity was clearly seen in the poorly concealed wonder in his eyes. That's when Talia said, "Why don't you show him your shift and tell him other things he needs to know in your room, while the sheriff and I discuss some important things?" Derek led a wide-eyed Stiles to his room upstairs while praying to all the gods he knew that there isn't any of his underwear lying on the floor. As Stiles entered his room, Derek's wolf gave him a jolt.
My mate is in my den.
While Derek is desperately trying to come up with something non-wolf related to make Stiles comfortable, Stiles asked him in an almost whisper, "Can I see you, shifted?" Derek led him to his bed, and they sat on the edge, and he shifted. He was bracing for repulsion and fear, but what he got from Stiles was intrigue and curiosity. Stiles' hand hovered near Derek's shifted face as if it was working on its own accord. Derek leaned into the touch. Stiles lightly caressed his left cheek and poked lightly at his upper lip, trying to feel the fang. The move was so childish, it made Derek smile without realizing he was putting his fangs on full display. Stiles hastily shrunk his hand back, as Derek was internally facepalming at his stupidity and shifting back to human. Stiles tentatively asked, "So, this mate thing, how does it work?" Derek gave himself a few seconds to think before he sprang into the explanation.
So what my mom has told me is that very few wolves actually meet their mates. Those who do consider themselves very lucky. You know, like, it's a primal instinct that comes built in us to keep our mates safe, warm, and well cared for.
"And the only reason you are nice to me at school is because your inner, wolf was telling you to?" Stiles asked him dejectedly.
That, and, I like you, and, I hate Whitmore.
That made Stiles light up. A few moments passed before Stiles asked him something and immediately regretted it. "So, what happens if the mate doesn't want the bond?" The look Derek gave him screamed pain and fear. He had never seen the cool and collected boy show this much emotion openly. Derek schooled his features and answered,
Stiles, I'm not going to force you into something you don't want. You can walk away any time you want, even now if you want.
"But it will destroy you, wouldn't it?" Stiles replied perceptively.
This is not jail. I'm not asking you for anything against your will, Stiles. I can't.
Stiles grabbed his hand before he could complete what he was saying and said, "You are the best thing that has happened to me since Star Wars. Don't be such a sour wolf and ruin this moment. Of course I want this, whatever this is."
It can be whatever you want. We could go out, or I could be a friend, just a friend, even a sibling, or like babysit your future kids. Stiles, I would do anything you ask me to do, but please don't shut me out.
Stiles knew by now that it was a big deal, but he didn't think Derek would be this desperate just to be a part of his life. His pathetic excuse of a life. He hadn't in his wildest dreams ever thought he would find someone, other than his dad, willing to sacrifice so much for him. Stiles looked at Derek, making up his mind then and there, and sincerely said, "I'm willing to give this a try. You have to update me about the growly, fangy side of you, and take this slow. But Derek, you have my word I will not let you down." Derek tentatively reached for Stiles' face just to caress it, but he found pink soft lips on his mouth the next second.
My mate likes me back, and I'll always keep him safe and warm and fed. And fuck you, Jackson Whitmore.
The end. Reader's Notes. Thank you to Lonelyirises for letting me record this. I hope you all enjoyed listening. Please go to archiveofourown.org/works/1373116/3165626 to leave comments and kudos for the original author. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your day.